Hey guys, got a very bullish AMA for you today. Got a lot to go over. So get comfortable and we'll get into it in a second. So what we're going to go over is we're going to go over all of the new features on the Blue DApp, as well as, how to use the features, what they're, what you can use them for. We're going to talk about how to do common stuff on Aboran. So I'm going to walk through and kind of show you guys how to do anything that you might want to do on the Aboran site. After that, we're going to have a pretty big discussion about strategy, different ways that you can play the opportunity. So, just different ways to handle your ABX rewards and stuff of that nature. And finally, we'll conclude with, what this all means for Blue and the Blue ecosystem, the Blue Treasury, and more. So let's jump into it. And as always, AMAs are the best place to get your questions answered. So if you have any questions about how anything works or how anything impacts something else, or, strategy questions, definitely feel free to drop them in. So let's start. If you guys want to just say hi in the chat, just let me know who's here. That'd be awesome. As always, I'd love to have an interactive AMA, as interactive as we can. I know last AMA, we had a weird setting on where you could see the stream either vertically or like in landscape. So we fixed that this stream. So we should just have the one. So you guys should be able to see the screen pretty well. So, our buy page, it now works on both chains. So if you pop over to, so you can see right now I'm on BNB chain. If you pop over to the buy page, there's been a bunch of improvements here. It's been streamlined between both BNB and Abstract. So this is the best place at a glance to see where to better price to buy Blue. Or if you're looking to sell Blue, this is also, what you'd want to reference to see like what the prices are at. So I guess the first thing I need to explain, just for anyone that's kind of new here, is that basically on BNB chain, we have liquidity for Blue. On Abstract chain, we have liquidity for GBlue. Now there is a ratio between Blue and GBlue, and that's why the price on Abstract is different than the price on BNB chain. So what you guys can see here is that the index is at 12.37 right now. So based on a Blue price of 61 cents, that means GBlue is worth 7.56 on BNB chain. So that's the number you want to compare to this. So, and it even gives you a little bit of help, right? So Abstract is 1.8% cheaper right now. BNB is 1.8% more expensive. So this is where you want to go to see where it's better to buy Blue. And when we talk about strategy a bit later, I'll tie, kind of the pricing on different chains into like how you might want to form your strategy. Let's now move on to the stake. Well, actually, I guess I'll show you this in Abstract too. So I just switched over to Abstract and it looks identical. You can use ETH to buy GBlue. This all works exactly like you'd expect. So this is a minor update that I did just to make it so you could swap your GBlue to or from GBlue right on Abstract without having to leave the DApp. Next up is our stake page. Our stake page is exclusive to BNB chain. So Abstract guys, this does not apply to you. But on our stake page, there's been a big improvement now where you can take your Blue and you have the option to stake it to SBlue or GBlue. So you can go directly from Blue to GBlue now. I'd say now that we have this Aboran integration in Blue, there's really not much point of holding SBlue. So basically, for the most part, you should either have Blue or you should stake it for GBlue. Because again, GBlue and SBlue both earn the exact same amount of emissions, or reward, not emissions, not the right word. They both earn the exact same amount of rebases. They just earn it in a different way. Right. And I'll just explain that super quick because I've talked about that a lot in the past. Every 4 hours, SBlue gets a rebase. So if you're holding SBlue, the amount of SBlue that you have is going to increase every 4 hours. But every 4 hours, also the staking index increases. This is how you earn the GBlue. So basically, when you have GBlue, your number of GBlue tokens doesn't change, but every 4 hours, the amount of blue that your GBlue can be exchanged for changes. So for example, like when I first announced the Aboran integration about a week ago, I think a staking index was like 11 or so, right? So every G Blue that you owned back then is worth 1 extra Blue now than it was back then. And that's just the automatic staking index increasing and making your G Blue worth more and more as time passes. So back to the stake page. So now you can see I actually removed the G Blue page from the header. There's not much need for the G Blue page, and our menu is already getting a little bit overwhelming in terms of different options. So I tried to thin out the menu a little bit. So, but yeah, like I said, now you can use the stake page to stake from Blue to G Blue or S Blue, and you can from S Blue or G Blue to Blue, right? So if you put in 10, you'll see 10 G Blue is going to get me 123 Blue, or if I'm unstaking S Blue, don't really have any in this wallet, but you can see that my S Blue amount is going to get me the exact same amount of Blue as S Blue, because that's how that works. So yeah, so basically you can do everything related to staking right on the staking page now. So that should be a nice improvement for users. One less transaction to, because I mean, typically people are going to be going from Blue to G Blue. There's really no need for that intermediary step of S Blue. Let's go over some more features that we've added. Well, I guess I'll just go one by one. Nothing much changed for the bond page. There was some minor improvements just to improve how it works now that the fact that the site is cross-chain. So I think you can still view all the bond markets even if you're on the wrong chain, but it's telling bond. So yeah, I mean, and bonds have been going great, right? Like I'm going to talk a bit more about bonds a bit later on. But moving through the new features, let's head back over to Abstract. So we've added this Aboran page. And to be clear, all of the Aboran integrations that we have on the site, they don't involve any like custom contracts or anything. This is all just interacting directly with the Aboran contracts. So basically, there's no new functionality here that you couldn't do on the Aboran site, but it kind of just gives you a lot of great information at a glance, and it lets you do like a lot of the common stuff that you would do with your G Blue ETH position without having to leave the Blue site. So as you can see, like it shows you the gauge APR, it shows you the reward rate, it shows you, how many ABX emissions we're getting this epoch or this week. You can see detailed stats about the gauge. We got $65,000 in the gauge. It tells you the pool details, the value of the pool staked in the gauge, which makes sense. 10.3 ETH and 4,400 Blue. Actually, before I go any further, I really want to congratulate the community. Like you guys really stepped up and understood the opportunity here. And I mean, the fact that we have 65,000 in liquidity on Abstract, just not even a full day into emissions running is really incredible. We've got 82,000 on BNB chain, and the fact that we could build up 65K here so quick it really is incredible. So, yeah, just wanted to, congratulate the community on an amazing job done there, and let's keep it going. And G Blue's been trending on Deck Screener. Actually, I don't know why, but my Deck Screener is bugged out on my computer for some reason. Let's see like once every couple of months, it just stops working for a couple of days. Actually, you can see it's trending 26 there, but none of my data is loading. But anyways, oh yeah, so I guess while I'm here, a bunch of new links have been added. So I mean, I guess the main ones that you might want to use in the footer is we got a direct link to the G Blue chart and a direct link to Aboran. I don't think too much else changed in the footer. I mean, these are just 2 pages. This is the page that we're on, the Aboran gauge, and this is the Zap page. So just some handy links there for you guys. But again, just going through here, what you can do on the Aboran page, we got the epoch status is telling you like when the next epoch's starting. It shows how many votes we currently have on the gauge, and what the APR is expected to look like next epoch. I made an update to that to try to make it more accurate, but I think that might not be 100% accurate now. I'll look at that and see, just because our votes are about roughly 2 million less now than they were, so I would expect that to be a little bit lower than what it shows. But anyways, I'll take care of that. What else can you do here? Oh yeah, so you can if you already have LP tokens. So for example, if you were to like zap in and not auto stake for some reason, that means like the LP tokens would get directly sent to you. You could come here and you could stake them. or if you make LP tokens on Aboran, which you can get a quick link to do that right there. Here you can make your LP, and then you could deposit it right here, or again, of course, you can deposit on the Aboran site as well. But yeah, this is just like an easy way to manage stuff. And we got some cool stats here that some of these stats aren't available on Aboran. So this is showing like, you know, how much LP tokens are in your wallet, what's staked, what composition. So like these LP units here, by the way, this is the treasury wallet. This is like a treasury position. So I'm going to go over this a bit later in the AMA as well. But you can see that, you know, what actual tokens are in your position. You can see your pending ABX, you can claim it. You can see your daily ABX earnings here, and you can see what percentage of the share you have, right? So I just claim my ABX. Something I'm going to go over a bit later is what you can do with your claimed ABX. So I think that's about it for this page. There's also some cool information on the voting tab if you switch over to voting. So, you know, you can see here like what the rewards are going to be for people that vote on our VE ABX gauge, or sorry, our G-Blue gauge. So there's, you know, we've got $130 or so of trading fees. This is only from like, we only really had action on this pair like the last day of the last epoch. So trading fees next week are going to be a lot higher because we're going to have action on the pair every single day this epoch. And again, like the way that what I'm doing as a protocol operator is I'm basically like ensuring that there's always a good voting APR to encourage VE ABX on our gauge. And that's how we were able to reach such high emissions this epoch, is because we had really high rewards for voting on our gauge. So, I mean, people that don't even know what G-Blue is or don't even plan on participating in G-Blue, they would vote on our gauge just because it's paying more than the other gauges, right? So basically what we're going to do here to maintain that is we're going to firstly try to get our fees as high as possible, and that all comes from trading activity. And just to give you guys some rough numbers, we've custom adjusted the trading fee on our G-Blue ETH LP to 1%. Typically in the V2 it's 0.3%. So for example, $10,000 of volume per day is going to be $100 per day in voting rewards. So $700 a week if we're doing 10,000 volume a day. And hopefully we can do more volume than that, but that's going to greatly help to push up the rewards for voting on the gauge. And Aboran has this really neat system called the bribe system. There's a whole like bribe economy. And basically what I can do, and you can see I've already put in another 400 G-Blue this week. So the total rewards for voting on our gauge right now are 3,100, which is basically the bribe value combined with the fee value. Now Aboran, they will match our bribe. So they're going to put in a bunch of ABX. That's going to pump this up. So that's going to make our gauge very attractive to vote on again. So those emissions that you see for this epoch, it's not just going to stop next epoch. I mean, we're going to be pushing and fighting to, make our gauge as attractive as possible to vote on, so that we can get as many votes as possible on our gauge. So that's how all that works. I know this can be a little bit confusing. If anybody has any questions about this, I'm definitely happy to answer it. But yeah, I guess I'll move on if there's no questions about that. The next feature I'm going to show you guys that's new is probably my favorite feature, and that is the Zap feature. Now, unlike most Zaps, we didn't actually have to build our own Zap contract for this. The Aboran router that is already deployed and what gets used for a lot of trades on Aboran, especially specifically for the V2 style trades, basically it has a full Zap feature and functionality. And now what's really cool about that is that it has some features that a typical Zap wouldn't be able to do. Like it has built-in ability to stake your LP, right? So you can, anyways, actually, I'll just show you guys. So what you can do is you would need some assets on Abstract. So you can do this with either G-Blue, which you can bridge to Abstract, or you can do it with native ETH, which is like Abstract ETH, or you can do it with wrapped ETH on Abstract. So what this does is this is just a super simple one transaction way to get into the LP and start earning that amazing APR. And again, the APR I'm talking about is this one right here. So what you would do is you would just, I don't have much ETH on this wallet right now, but what you would do is you would just enter an amount of ETH. And by the way, there is a nice link here that brings you to the relay bridge where you can bridge, by default, it's showing BNB to ETH abstract. That's how I set it up. But you can switch this to like any token that you want. So that's a good way to get abstract ETH if you want to zap in that way. So anyways, I'm going to do just a tiny bit of ETH here. You can see I have it set to auto stake. So this is going to, what this is going to do basically is it's going to sell half of my ETH input for GBlue. It's going to make an LP with those two tokens. If there's any dust left over, it's going to send that back to my wallet. And it's also going to auto stake that LP in the gauge for me if I have this selected. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so that's done. So, I mean, that's a tiny amount. We're not going to notice that difference in the position here, but yeah, my position size just got increased and I'm now earning more. I mean, I guess we could have looked at how many staked LPs I had prior to submitting that, but yeah, it's that's all done. I mean, we can take a look at the transaction real quick just to show you guys. A lot of stuff going on, but essentially, it's swapping half the tokens, it's, making the LP, and then the final step is it's transferring the LP to the gauge, which is basically what you see right here. I'm not sure why it's showing those 3 asterisks. I guess maybe the name is too long, but yeah, so that's this all works super smooth. A lot of guys have been using this. One thing I would be careful about though is you really got to keep in mind that when you are zapping tokens in, you are selling half of whatever your input token is. So I've seen some guys zapping tool in a way that's, while it's easy, it wasn't an optimal way in terms of getting them the best output based on how much funds they were putting in. Let me explain what I mean. If you go to the buy page and you see the prices, if the prices are as close as they are right now, like within 1 to 2%, it really doesn't matter which chain you use. It's going to be roughly the same. It's probably not worth, buying on the other chain just for that 1%. But if there's a bigger difference in price, so for example, if abstract is, let's say, 10% cheaper than BNB, what you'd want to do in that case is if you're just entering a fresh position, you'd want to bridge your, like, whether you got USDC, BNB, whatever assets you might have on whatever chain, you'd want to bridge that over to abstract as abstract ETH, and you'd want to either zap in with abstract ETH, or you just want to buy GBlue with abstract ETH, depending what you're looking to do. What you don't want to do, and I'm just saying this because I saw some people do this yesterday, and I just want to warn you guys so that you guys can get a better output for yourself when you're entering the position is, again, the first most critical thing is checking which price is different, because if they are different, it's going to really impact how you do this. So yesterday, the BNB price was quite a bit higher than the abstract price. It was, maybe it was between 10 to 25% higher at different times, late in the day yesterday. So what a couple guys did is they bought Blue on BNB chain. So already they're paying the higher price for Blue because it was cheaper on abstract. And then with that Blue, they converted it to GBlue, sent it over to abstract, and then they were zapping into the GBlue LP with GBlue input. Now, the reason that's not good is because firstly, the Blue was purchased at the higher price, which is already, you could have got more Blue value by buying it on abstract. But then to make it even less beneficial for the user, zapping GBlue in on abstract means you're selling half the GBlue. So if the price on abstract is already cheaper than BNB, you definitely don't want to be selling your GBlue on abstract if it's cheaper there, right? So in that example I just gave, the better way to handle that would have been because at the time, the abstract price was quite a bit cheaper. So instead of buying the Blue on BNB chain, the better move would have been to just bridge your BNB or USDC or whatever it is over to abstract ETH, and then zap in with abstract ETH, because now you're buying GBlue at a discount if like abstract is 10 or 15% cheaper, for example. So that basically lets you enter at the cheaper cost, and you're not overpaying for Blue on the other chain. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, if there's any confusion about that, let me know. But I mean, ultimately, the only core things that you got to remember out of everything I just said is that mainly when you zap, you're selling half of whatever token you're using as input. So you never want to be buying on the more expensive chain or selling on the less expensive chain. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your zaps. And again, if the price is fairly close like it is right now, it doesn't really make much of a difference. But yeah, just keep that in mind, guys. Just don't want to see anybody get less tokens than what they could have got. So next up, so again, zapping is incredible. Just again, there's like no barrier to entry, right? Like as anybody that has abstract ETH, they can in one transaction, no approvals required, nothing. They can have not only create the LP, but have it auto earning for them right away by the way it auto stakes it in the gauge. So this is something that I'm going to be pushing really hard. And it kind of ties in well with what I'm going to talk about next. The next new feature that I added, well, actually minor feature while we're here. I updated things so that you can actually see your transaction history here. So that was a fun job. But yeah, now if you click on your wallet, you can see all the stuff that you've been doing. So let's now disconnect, and you can see there's a new wallet connect option. For guys that aren't familiar with Abstract, a lot of users on Abstract use what's called the Abstract Global Wallet. It's a like log into with like Gmail or like a username or like an email address, or so it's like a Web 2 style login, and it basically gives you like a full featured wallet powered by Privy. I'll show you guys. So you can't see, but a little screen just popped up to prove the connection, and now I'm in. So Abstract wallet can only be used on Abstract. So you see I can't change chains. Also some minor work's been done to the site. So for example, if you're on Abstract and you're trying to bridge, it's actually not going to let you bridge to your own address, just because like those tokens would end up getting lost. So if I try to bridge to my own address, it's not letting me. So Abstract global wallet users, they've got to, if they do want to use the bridge for whatever reason, they've got to bridge it to a different address that's not their own. This basically doesn't even give them the opportunity to lose funds in case they try to bridge to themselves. But yeah, no, I think having the Abstract global wallet integrated now and having full functionality in our DApp for Abstract, that opens the doors to potentially getting our DApp listed in the Abstract portal, which is a part of the Abstract global wallet, and also potentially getting some cross promotion from the Abstract team. So definitely looking forward to that. And that's well, there was multiple reasons why I wanted to integrate the Abstract wallet, but largely just because a lot of users on Abstract are using the Abstract wallet. So if they want to come check out our DApp, take advantage of our Zap functionality, or the cool Aboran page that we got with all kinds of info, then yeah, now that's available to them. So that's pretty big. I guess the last thing I'll talk about, I've already touched on this briefly in terms of, well, this is not really a feature, but just kind of like how to arbitrage. So with arbitraging, so basically you're looking to profit off a difference in price between the prices on both chains. And again, this is for if you're just looking to take a profit. If you're looking to enter, I've already gone over like looking at what the prices are on each chain, and then basically determining like where it would be better to enter, whether you want to enter on Abstract or you want to enter on BNB and then bridge over to Abstract. That's going to all be based on the price, right? So if there's, say, like if the price difference is anything bigger than like 3 or 4%, it starts to really make sense to arbitrage the price. So what you'd want to do is you'd want to buy the tokens on the cheaper chain. And if that's BNB chain, you're going to want to buy the tokens. Then you're going to want to go bridge it over to Abstract and then sell on Abstract. That's how you would, and then you pocket the difference. And you would do the same thing in reverse if the price was cheaper on Abstract. You would buy it on Abstract, bridge it over to BNB, unstake the G Blue for Blue, and then you would sell it on BNB chain. And this makes you profit, and it also keeps our prices in line, because I expect that we're going to get a lot of activity on Abstract, and a lot of these guys aren't going to even know that the Blue BNB site exists. They're not going to know about the bridge. They're not going to know about the BNB price. Buy on Abstract, right? So a lot of times, I think in the future, the Abstract price is going to be higher. So the way that funnels back to BNB is that our guys that are going to arbitrage the price are going to bring the BNB price up in line with the Abstract price, and they're going to pocket some money in the process. So if anybody has any questions on that, let me know. next main thing I'm going to talk about is just kind of navigating the Aboran site and how to do a bunch of the common stuff you'd want to do there. It's going to pop this on to the same Aboran, or the same wallet I was just on, the blue deployer. Doesn't want to connect for some reason. Oh, there we go. So first things first, there is a bonus for locking your ABX. So right now you can see I'm on the same wallet that I was using here. Let's actually go ahead and claim some more ABX here. So I've got another 1,000 ABX pending. And again, this is the protocol wallet. So now we've got a bunch of ABX, a bunch more. So the strategy that I suggest for ABX rewards is to, and this is what the protocol is going to be doing as well, is to come in here and just make locks, right? So we got 4650 roughly. So right now I'm making a 4-year lock with 4650. Where's the dark mode option on Aboran? Right here, my man. See, I didn't even have dark mode set. I think my system is just auto. My system default is dark mode. That's the question I was answering, by the way. So I'm going to go ahead and create this lock. So when I make this lock, there's a couple benefits of this. Firstly, Aboran has a crazy promotion right now where any ABX that you lock up during the epoch, once the epoch completes, you're going to get a 70% bonus rebate back. So I think that's actually where one of these locks came. No, I don't think no. The protocol didn't actually make any locks last epoch. So all these locks were made this epoch. So basically like every lock the protocol is making now, or any lock that you guys make this epoch, you're going to get 70% of whatever ABX you put into locking. You're going to get a new ABX lock when the next epoch starts that is going to be like a 70% bonus. And then you can take that and you can merge that into your existing locks. I'll show you that real quick. So a couple things need to be in place to merge locks. The lock that you're merging into another lock, it can't be permanent. So if your lock is permanent, you can come here and you can just switch it to not be permanent. But the two locks that I'm going to merge into this lock are they're not permanent. They're not set for permanent right now. They're just set to like 4 years. Also, if you've voted, you need to reset your votes before you can merge. But these are all brand new locks, so they've never voted yet. And again, I'm just building these locks with reward ABX that the protocol is generating with its own protocol-owned liquidity that's farming on Aboran right now. So I can just go to merge just to show you guys. So we've got a lock with 3,000 some odd ABX. We're going to merge in one with 15,000. Hit merge, submit it, and you're good to go. All very simple. Again, there could be a few more steps for you if you've already voted the last epoch. You do have to reset votes before you can do this. Also, you should claim your rebases if you have any before you merge, or they could be lost. So yeah, you can see that got merged in. So yeah, that's basically how you merge locks. Now I'll also show you how to vote. So, and the reason why I'm suggesting opening up, like creating VE ABX positions with your reward ABX is, for one, the ABX price is pretty low right now. I think it's a great time to be buying ABX. I don't think it's a good time to be selling ABX. So I think you're better off hoarding ABX than selling it right now. But I think even better off, you're better off to lock your ABX for VE ABX. And now let's take that lock that I just increased in size with that merge. Sorry if the text is a little small, but we got 18.55K ABX there. I select the lock. Now, if I was voting on multiple pools, I would select multiple pools, but I'm just going to vote on just the G Blue one. So I press vote. Because I'm only voting on a single one here, I'm just going to put 100% here. If you had more than one in the list, you would have to put percentages to equal out to 100%. Let's submit that vote. So now that's done. So that should update in a second. Yep, so you can see my votes here. Let me just refresh this so you can see it's going to show that lock. So that lock is already voted. So I can't do anything with this lock until next epoch. But yeah, now we have an extra 18,000 votes on the GBlue gauge. And this is where everybody finds us, by the way. So like all the votes that we got last epoch, well, I mean, I did a bunch myself, but a lot of other people, you know, I was well under half the votes. So the majority of votes came from just Aboran users and our community voting on the GBlue gauge. So that was great. But the way this is sorted is by total rewards. So you can see that we haven't had any ABX added to our incentives, which is going to pump up our total rewards quite a bit. But we're still third in the list, so it's, you know, very easy to find us in terms of, you know, voting on us. And speaking of being third in the list here, I mean, we're also getting a ton of exposure here. We're also second in the list, I believe, here because it's sorted by APR. So yeah, we're second in the list. We're the second highest paying gauge on all of Aboran, but it's actually a bit different than that because if you look, these are all concentrated. The only other basic volatile is like the main ETH ABX pair, which has 900K of liquidity. This has huge votes on it because this is something that the Aboran protocol itself puts a lot of votes on to make sure there's a lot of interest in farming this. So that's the only other high basic volatile, right? So if I filter by basic, you know, excluding the ETH ABX basic gauge, we're paying like 10x more than the next highest one, right? So a lot more funds should flow into this. Guys love the simplicity of the V2 full range. You don't need to rebalance your position. You don't get extreme and permanent loss because, you know, your position can go out of range, like just with minor price movements. None of that's the case with V2. So V2 generally attracts big liquidity. Like if you look at the ETH ABX gauge, you know, the protocol only owns like, I think, I don't know, roughly 100,000 or 200,000 of that TVL. The rest of it's all user provided. And that's because of the big gauge APR. I mean, it didn't come overnight. It's been running for about 2 months now, but this is what happens to your TVL when your gauge pays really well. You know, guys want to farm that ABX. So, you know, for our APR to drop down to that level, you know, our TVL has to increase like 3x, even more than like, you know, 3.5x. So from 65K to 3.5x, that's over 200K of liquidity. So, you know, it's very easy to see like how bullish that'll be for the blue and GBlue prices, because for us to get to 200K liquidity, we need to go from having 30K worth of GBlue in the pool to 100K worth of GBlue in the pool. Well, we only have a 200 and some odd $1,000 market cap. I can't really even look at that because my deck screener is broken. But yeah, we only have like a 250K market cap. So basically a lot of tokens need to get purchased open market for our liquidity to grow to that size. And it's basically going to only have the effect of really pushing up, you know, really pushing up the price of blue and GBlue. Is the Maxi Vault also using the GBlue pool? So let me just explain what the Maxi Vault is real quick. So the VE ABX Maxi Vault is essentially what happens when you use that is you can, if you haven't voted yet, so I can't do it with this one. I could do it with this one. I could deposit this lock into the vault, which basically means like I'm giving the vault my voting power to do its own strategy on it. And then I get the rewards of its strategy. And the special thing about that is that it's getting a bonus 100% APR injected in on a weekly basis. So that's why the APR here is quite a bit higher than this one, is because it gets that bonus. So, but it's important to keep in mind that when you vote on gauges manually, like on the vote page, you, at the end of the week, you get to claim the rewards, right? So if you were to vote on the GBlue gauge, you're going to get a share of the trading fees, and a share of the incentives, right? Which is all shown here. If you put your lock into the vault, into the VE ABX Maxi vault, there's nothing to claim at the end of the week, but what it does is it grows the size of your VE ABX position, and it grows it more than it would grow if you did it manually, just largely because it's voting on the highest paying gauges, and then it's also getting 100% bonus APR injected in. How do I know that? Because I'm the one that does it. So, but yeah, that's where you'd want to go into the VE ABX Maxi. To answer your question now, sorry for all that other talk prior to answering your question, but once the G Blue gauge has bigger rewards and grows a little bit, I could see possibly the vaults voting on that. But right now they got so much voting power that they're mainly voting on the bigger gauges, right? The ones that like largely the top two here, just because like the amount of rewards is just substantially higher. But I mean, that can change, right? Like the G Blue gauge can start having higher rewards if other guys start putting up bribes, or if the trading fee starts getting higher. Like you can see, like these rewards are 100% from trading fees, right? There's been no incentives put in yet. So that's like ideally what we want to get to. Like I said before, though, I'm very willing to incentivize, like the same way I put 400 G Blue in here. I'll keep supplementing G Blue in here to make sure that we have good rewards, to make sure that we always get good votes. But yeah, like as trading volume picks up, the fees is going to be a higher and higher percentage of our total rewards. Hope that makes sense. And again, the vaults could potentially start voting on the G Blue gauge if that makes sense in the future, especially once it gets a little bit bigger and there's more rewards, more fees, etc. What's next? How to add and remove liquidity on Aboran. So removing liquidity, let's start there. It's pretty easy. So there's a couple places you can access your liquidity positions. So you can go to the dashboard and see everything here. You can claim your ABX here. Like, look, already another 450 ABX. I just claimed that. So you can go to manage, and that brings you over to this page where first you'd have to unstake it, and then you'd be able to remove liquidity here. You could also add liquidity here if you want to add to your position. That's another option there. You could also go to the liquidity page, and the liquidity page will show your positions. So here you can click on this, and that gets us to the same place we were just at. And now you can remove, well, first you'd have to unstake. Like, so if I try to remove liquidity right now, I have no LP tokens in my wallet. So it's basically going to be zeros, right? If I unstake first, I can unstake any amount I want. Then you could remove as much or as little liquidity as you want. And again, one more thing to mention is that you can also withdraw your LP here. Oh, this is my other wallet. This is the, that was the Abstract Global wallet. So you could also withdraw liquidity here, right? So you could say, I want to withdraw 9 units. I'm not going to do it. I want to keep earning. So, but then after I withdrew there, I'd be able to remove liquidity here. So essentially, like this deposit to gauge and this withdraw is doing the same thing as this stake and this unstake here. No different. But again, the add liquidity and remove liquidity is something that we don't have on the G Blue site or the Blue website right now. So you have to do that stuff here. If you're looking to set up a brand new position, again, like the easiest way is to zap in, but there's conditions where you might want to just actually add it manually. Like if, for example, if you got a bunch of ETH and you got a bunch of G Blue, well, there's no point in zapping. You may as well just add both assets together and make the liquidity pair. What you can do is you can just come down to this list. The easiest way is just hit new deposit right here. That's going to bring you to the correct page. It's already set up on basic. It's already got the tokens loaded in. That's going to be your easiest way. And again, there's also a shortcut there on the Aboran page. Add LP on Aboran. This brings you to the exact same page. If you are to do it manually, because I know some people might just end up getting here manually. So if you go to deposit liquidity, this might be confusing some people, but you need to, the default is concentrated. You got to switch this to basic. Once you switch it to basic, you don't have to change any, well, you got to pick your token. But other than that, you can leave the rest alone. Again, V2 volatile is basically like traditional V2, like it says there. Stable is for like USDT, USDC. It's for like tightly correlated assets. So that's almost never what you want to pick. So just to give you guys the heads up there. And here you can see we're right back at that exact same page where I could add liquidity now. Last thing on Aboran that I wanted to talk about is just how to claim your voting rewards. I could probably find a wallet that has some available, but we're already got a lot to talk about, so I'm not going to spend the time doing that. This wallet, this is the Blue deployer. It didn't have any locks prior to this epoch starting, so there's no voting rewards. But anytime you vote on the GBlue gauge or you vote on any gauge, once the epoch flips, you're going to have all of your voting rewards available here. That's in the form of trading fees and bribes. So again, just to explain that super quick, just a simple example. If you were to vote on the ETH Pengu gauge, you're going to get your share of these fees, right? So just to give you some simple numbers, if I were to put like 12 million votes on this, I'd have like 10%. So I'd get 10% of this with 12 million, right? Or like, you can, just to give you guys an idea of like how that works. You know, or you could look at it like if you put 1.2 million, you'd get like 1% of what it's shown here. Although something important to keep in mind is it's often better to vote near the end of the epoch, because a lot of times incentives like bribes, they come in the middle of the epoch or even sometimes towards the end of the epoch. So if you want to, you know, if you're just trying to purely maximize how much rewards you get, you would really just look at like what the VAPR shows, right? And then that's how, although just be careful though, because like some of these, they don't have, like this one has $233 of rewards. So this APR is going to drop very quick once more votes come in on this. So you really, that's something else you got to take into consideration, right? Like, so, but yeah, you just want to be looking at like what's going to pay you the most. And again, just sorry to keep repeating myself, but if you're mainly looking to grow your VE ABX position, you can see why, you know, the highest paying gauges at the moment are like in the 90% range. You have small reward pools because that doesn't scale very well. Not many people can collect rewards off that before the payout's going to get very small. So like to look at ones with big rewards, you know, like 96% is what you'd get here. But on the lock, you can get like double that by going into the VE ABX Maxi. And again, the big difference being that this is going to increase the size of your VE ABX position, where when you manually vote, you get rewards at the end of the week that you can choose to do with it whatever you want, right? So I know this is a complicated topic. There's a lot going on. It's a really great system though. And it really is a full flywheel that you can use to build yourself a position that's going to pay you out forever, right? And like that's why I suggest just building up as much VE ABX as you can. And you know, we got a super high paying gauge, so there's a super easy way to get ABX right now is to farm this gauge, put votes on the gauge, and let's keep snowballing this. I think that our TVL is going to keep growing. You know, we still have a crazy high APR. I think TVL will keep growing until this drops closer to like 200% or so, maybe 150 to 200%. And again, the amount of inflows we're going to have to get in order for our TVL to grow to those levels to bring this down to 200% is going to be insanely bullish for the blue price. So very, very exciting. I mean, and something else worth taking into consideration is the ABX price is quite low right now. And it's looking like it's probably bottomed. If you look at other similar DEXs that have launched in the past, they often do have a trajectory of downward price movement for the first, you know, month, 2 months of emissions, but then they find a floor and they start to, you know, really push back up. And you can see that example on a lot of similar DEXs. So I think we're pretty much right around that point right now. So, I mean, ABX price going up directly increases our APR, which is going to be directly beneficial to blue and the whole blue ecosystem. All right, if you guys don't have any questions about how Aboran works or how to do stuff on Aboran, then I'm going to move on to talking a little bit about strategy. Although, to be honest, I think I've already touched on a lot of this stuff already. So I'm going to skim over this pretty quick. So the first thing I had down for strategy is just buying where it's cheapest. I've kind of already talked about this. So you definitely want to, anytime you're taking fresh capital to enter a position, you're going to want to just take a quick glance at where it's cheaper. And you can just see that right here at a glance. You know, if you're looking at the cost value, you can compare this number to this number, or you can just very simply look at the percentage shown here. Something else cool that shows up, if you're using the buy page, if you're trying to buy it on the chain that's more expensive, it's actually going to give you a notice saying that, you know, it's suggested to switch chains to buy it on the other chain just to get you a better deal. So that's something handy that I added there. Okay, so I've already touched on pretty much everything I want to talk about. So I talked about buying where it's cheapest, how to take advantage of price differences between chains. I've already talked about that pretty thoroughly. ABX reward strategy, I've already talked about that. Okay, one thing I want to talk about real quick is the market cap and just kind of like how our bridge works and just how that all ties into like the visible market caps you might see shown, and like just to understand how that works. Because there's several different ways that a bridge can work in crypto. Like one of the common ones would be like a mint burn type bridge. That's kind of like how like our old like MSS bridge worked, where like when you bridge from one chain to the other, it's minting or it's burning tokens on the source chain and minting on the destination chain. So in that case, you do need to look at the market cap of both chains and combine it to get the true market cap. Now, the G-Blue bridge works a little bit differently than that. So with the G-Blue bridge, we're not burning tokens. When you bridge G-Blue to Abstract, and keep in mind that every single G-Blue on Abstract came from the G-Blue bridge. So essentially, the entire market cap is on BNB chain, right? So like, for example, if we're going to get 50,000, that essentially has to come from BNB chain, because essentially the price of G-Blue on Abstract would skyrocket if those inflows went directly to Abstract. Well, someone's going to arbitrage that price back to being in line, which is going to require buying a ton of blue on BNB chain and then bridging it to Abstract to sell on Abstract to get the prices back in line. So those actions right there gets a ton more G-Blue onto Abstract, but that G-Blue came from someone buying it on BNB chain, right? So like, again, the only way G-Blue gets to Abstract is if it comes from BNB chain, and, you know, essentially with how much liquidity we have, there's not much blue just floating around, right? Like it's going to have to get bought open market in order for those numbers to get to where they're likely to get. So yeah, just to reiterate, our market, if you ever want to see the blue market cap, you can just look strictly at what the BNB market cap shows, because again, all the tokens on Abstract are sitting in the G-Blue bridge on BNB chain. So it's not like that's separate. It's, you know, it's basically just showing the market, that Abstract market cap is essentially the market cap of our bridge on BNB chain, if that makes sense. Don't think I did the best job explaining that, but I said it like 3 different ways. So hopefully, hopefully between 3 different bad explanations, you guys can kind of figure out what I meant there. Let's see what else I got for you guys. I got a whole section here about zapping, but again, I've kind of, when I was going over the features, I kind of already talked about a lot of this. So just again, remember guys, when you're zapping in, just keep in mind it's selling half of your tokens. So if you don't want to be selling your G-Blue, then what you want to do is you want to zap in with ETH, or you want to take your G-Blue and you want to pair it with ETH and then stake it, right? So, you know, I'm not saying never sell your G-Blue, but, you know, especially with what I think is coming for the price of blue and G-Blue, I think it's probably smarter to pair up your blue and G-Blue whenever possible, not to zap G-Blue in, just because, again, you're selling your G-Blue at the current prices. You're selling half of it when you zap in with G-Blue. So generally, you're going to want to zap in with ETH, or just pair your G-Blue up with ETH manually. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got for zapping. I think I missed some questions here. Let me see. How long will the G-Blue LP be more beneficial than using it all for voting? Well, like it's 2 different things, right? Like the G-Blue LP, you have to enter that with G-Blue and ETH. Voting, you enter that with ABX, right? So, I mean, right now it's hard to say, like it's hard to recommend anything other than the LP. Like the LP is earning 563% right now. You don't have to lock anything up to get that. Entering the LP full force, is probably the smartest move right now. Once our TVL grows and the APR comes down, then maybe it starts to make more sense to, again, there's a lot of different strategies, right? Like I think like any fresh capital should likely flow into the gauge, into like, you know, having a bigger LP position. In terms of your ABX rewards, I think that's a 50-50, whether you want to, you know, cycle those back into building a bigger position and bigger LP position to earn more of the gauge APR, or if you want to take that and lock it up. Because again, remember, when you lock the ABX, you're getting a 70% bonus. You're able to help GBlue gauge by voting on it. You're able to take advantage of the VE ABX Maxi Vault in the future to really grow your position fast. So there's too many factors there to say what's better. But yeah, I'd say while this APR is as high as it is, like anytime it's over like 300-400%, you probably want to be putting most of your funds to work in here. Let's go whales. What will happen with the bonds moving forward, the expired ones? Good question. Let's take a look. So the bond markets have been real successful. Our BlueBook, our BlueBook LP bond, it's only has 11 blue left, so it basically sold out. So congrats, guys. That's sold out. That built us a bunch more liquidity. So that one's basically done. The blue BNB bond, it expires on December 14th. So it's got a couple more days left. There is still 3,000 blue potential capacity. Discount's not too strong right now, but it could improve over time and over the next day or two. And the ETH bond has had a lot of activity. It's, you know, we've sold almost 20,000 blue out of this. It's had so much activity that there's not even a discount right now. So that discount will come back after time passes. Or I mean, the blue price going up would also give it a discount, or just time passing and the price decaying. But this has been super bullish for the protocol, because the ETH that we've been receiving into the treasury from the bonding has been facilitating us to create a really large position on Abstract. And that position is generating the protocol like $250 a day of ABX right now. So this is it's been incredibly bullish, like how people have been jumping into the bonds and how we've been able to take that ETH to further build our liquidity on Abstract and giving the protocol a super, super strong source of revenue. So been extremely bullish. Would like to ask a question about BlueBook LP pair bonding price. Sure, go ahead. So I'll wait for you to ask your question, but I'll just mention something here. It might seem like our bond prices have been quite erratic. The reason for that is we don't typically get like a smooth, consistent purchase of bonds. Like typically our bonds are getting like no activity for an extended period of time, and then like someone jumps in, or one or two guys jump in like super hard, and then there's no activity for an extended period of time. Then a couple more guys jump in really hard. So because of that, it makes the discounts and premiums like quite erratic, because it recalculates. I have different settings on some of them, but some of them are recalculating every 2 hours. Some of them are recalculating kind of like every 4 hours, like kind of retuning the decay based on the how much has been purchased and how far into the duration we are. And it looks at a lot of other factors, but that is the reason why some of these things jump around quite a bit. It's like if we had more consistent buying, you know, if people were buying multiple times a day, not one person, but like if overall the community was buying a couple times a day, every day, then those premiums and discounts would be a lot more stable. And I'm not saying we have to do that. It's working perfectly fine the way it is, but that's just the reason why those jump around as much as they do. How come it declined so rapidly today as time going, which make the bonding sold out so quick today? So basically I just answered your question. So I don't remember the exact details, but I think the BlueBook LP bond, it basically exactly what I just mentioned happened, right? Like there was no activity for an extended period of time. Guys jumped in really hard into the BlueBook LP like a week or two ago, and then it was oversold kind of based on like how much was sold versus how much time was left in the bond. And then because there was no discount, I think there was a premium for a while, nobody bought the bond for like well over a week. So then it started building up a discount, or like as soon as somebody bought once, it calculated out what it had to calculate, and now there's a big discount. So yeah, I mean, it just really comes down to like irregular purchasing of bonds. You know, the bonds can calculate prices a lot better if there's more activity on them, essentially. But like, I mean, in terms of why it sold out fast, I mean, there was a big discount on it, right? So nothing I can really do. If there's only 10 capacity left, there's only 10 capacity left. All I can do is really make a new bond market for it. Which I guess then goes to this question is, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really happens with them. I can make new bonding markets. And I think, to be honest, I think that what we got going on with Blue is extremely bullish. I think that our abstract expansion is going to continue to pay dividends for the protocol and everybody involved in the protocol. So, I mean, I think that we can continue to have bonding markets. It's really been a great treasury building exercise, especially the ETH bond, the way that we're able to build up protocol owned liquidity over on abstract and earn a really insane APR with it, which is letting us build up a VE ABX position to further vote on the gauge. It's all like incredibly bullish. So, yeah, I think that we'll keep going with the bonding, but hope that answered your guys' questions related to bonds. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got for you guys. Again, I think, you know, one of the biggest things to look at is just like the way that the protocol wallet's been able to build up, you know, a position that's, again, paying over $250 a day in rewards. I mean, I'd encourage you guys to jump into this, right? If you don't have a healthy position in here, what are you doing, right? This is paying extremely well. We've got just shy of 66,000 TVL, and it's still paying insane, right? Like anything over 200% is a really good paying LP, in my opinion, SLP. So, you know, and I think that our TVL is going to grow until the APR drops down to those levels. So basically what that means is that the Blue price has to increase because the TVL can't grow without people buying Blue, right? So this is like, I think like the risk reward on this right now is like one of the best I've seen, right? It's like basically like one case is like, okay, you earn an insane APR in your position. That's amazing. The other way around is like, okay, a ton of TVL flows in. Now your APR drops a bit, but when that TVL flows in, the value per LP token is going to skyrocket, right? So like, it's like if you have $1,000 farming now, you know, if the TVL triples, or I should say when the TVL triples, you know, your APR is going to drop because there's a lot more people sharing those rewards, but the value of your position went from 1,000 to say like 2,500 or something like that, right? If you withdraw your LP, will it come back in your wallet as Blue, GBlue, or ETH? So what would be cool is if we had like a Zap out, and that's something that we could build in the future. But when the withdraw LP right here is very strictly just, you know, LP token, is it deposited in the gauge and earning me ABX, or am I withdrawing it so the LP token's in my wallet, right? So you would really only need to use this if you want to like exit your position. So like, for example, just say I wanted to exit my position right now, I could withdraw all my LP, and then I could come to Aboran and I could, I'd be able to remove liquidity at that point, right? And again, these features here are no different than simply unstaking here, right? Unstaking 100% here is the exact same transaction as this right here. Just looks a little bit different. But yeah, in the future, we could potentially introduce like a Zap out, which would let you like take a LP position and then like say receive just ETH for it or just GBlue for it, or receive both assets. And that way you could kind of do that all in one shot. I'm the one who got the discount today. What I'm confused is that what's the mechanism determining the bonding price? Yeah, it is complicated. I mean, I've explained it quite a few times in the past, but it's not a simple thing to understand. And I mean, I think it's a really cool system, so I'm happy to talk about it. I mean, I'll go over it again. I don't mind. So basically the way Oh, someone just bought the last bunch of bonds. Now it's so the way bonding prices work is there's a couple key factors it looks at in its formula to determine the bonding price. Actually, there's a lot of factors, but I'll give you the key ones. So the main factors it looks at is what is the capacity of the bond market and what is the duration of the bond market and the starting price that I set. And then like as time passes, it basically factors in all of those variables to determine what the bond price should be. And like probably the easiest way to explain this is like, let's use really simple numbers. Let's say there's like 30,000 blue capacity. So we're trying to bond or sell 30,000 blue over 1 month. So 30 days. So basically for the bond sales to be like perfectly in line with the capacity and the duration, we would have to sell 1,000 blue per day in the bonding market. So if we sold a perfect 1,000 blue per day, then the bonding price shouldn't really change much from the starting price that I set. Because that just means like there's like the perfect demand on the bonds based on the capacity and the duration. Using that exact same example, if there's 30,000 blue for a month duration, if we sell 2,000 blue in the first day, then that means that like the bond is like oversubscribed, right? Like we only have 1,000 blue a day to sell over a month, but we sold 2,000. That's going to make the bonding price increase. And it goes the same the other way around. If we only sold 500 blue, our capacity and duration dictate that we should be selling 1,000 blue a day. Well, then the bonding price is going to lower because we're not meeting that, demand or supply, I guess. So to look at the ETH bond, which is a pretty good one to look at for this was set up with 2 months and 100,000 blue. So 50,000 blue a month or 12,500 blue a week, roughly. So we are a week and a half into the bonding market and we've sold 19,500. So we are selling a little bit quicker than like how much is allocated over the time period, right? Hope that makes sense, right? So like I'd say like roughly like if you divide the capacity by the number of days on this bonding market, actually, let me just do the math real quick. Shouldn't be too hard to do. 100,000 blue divided by 60 days. So that's 1,666 blue per day. So if we're averaging more blue sold than that, the price is going to increase. If we're averaging less blue sold than that, then the price is going to decrease. And again, there's a bunch of other parameters that I set when I create the bond market that dictates like stuff like how big the max payout is going to be. Like I don't set that directly. I set something else and then it figures that out. But I also set like the tune frequency, like how often should it be tuning the price. I played around with that a little bit. I found like the sweet spot is like setting that to like 2 to 4 hour range. But yeah, well, I mean, I don't mind showing you. This is an admin only page, so you can't use it if you're not an admin. But I think that's it. So this is like where I go to create bonds, right? Just to give you an idea, right? So, for example, like the ETH bond, I don't mind showing you this. So capacity. So first I have to switch this. So the capacity was 100,000 blue. Market duration. So I think I did 60 days. Vesting period was 5 days. The deposit interval, I believe I kept that at. I think I put both of these to 2 hours. And here you can see the blue market price, the quote token price, and now I just set quote tokens per blue. So how much Ethereum someone has to pay for every blue token. So this is going to be a small number. So I would just throw out something like this. Okay, well, based on this, the discount is 47%, right? So that's too cheap. So I'd say like, okay, that's a premium. That's not good either. So I'd probably start with something like that, right? Like a 6% discount. So that's like, this is like how I would set up a new bond market. And again, this only works from the deployer wallet. So that's why I don't mind showing you guys this, because you guys can't create bond markets here. So yeah, that kind of just shows what goes into it and how I create it and what kind of things I have to think about when I'm making bond markets. is actually like a pretty difficult thing to get right. I've done this lots of times in the past, so I'm pretty familiar with how to set all these things so that it works how I want it to work for our community. Also, thanks for opening the bonding market. I really enlarged a lot through this within these days. Oh, great to hear. You know, it's the bonding. It's something that, you know, it's super beneficial to the protocol. It's building the protocol treasury, and it's letting, you know, community members get access to Blue at a cheaper rate. So I think it's, you know, it really is a win-win. It's something that, like, I don't think it's a good thing to do if, like, we're not in a time where, like, things are bullish or the price is stable or increasing, right? Like if we're on, you know, in the past, like when the markets weren't looking that great, the Blue price, you know, trending down, not a great time to have bonding markets. Also, people are more afraid to like have vested Blue if the price is currently dropping. But I think right now, I think there's going to be huge demand for Blue. I think the demand for Blue is going to only increase. We're going to, you know, raise a lot of awareness on Abstract. I've already seen some Abstract guys jump in just to buy G Blue. Some of them have jumped in with fairly decent capital to actually buy G Blue and add it to the liquidity pool. I mean, again, we're by far the highest paying V2 LP gauge on Aboran. So I think we'll continue to see more inflows there. So based on all these positive catalysts, I think it's a great time to have bonding markets open. Because I think, again, for one, I think people can enter bonding markets with more confidence that the price of Blue is not going to drop during that vesting period. Obviously, there's never any guarantees of that, but I think, you know, the chances of the price dropping is a lot less right now. And yeah, especially the ETH bonding market, that's, you know, it's really helping to strengthen the protocol treasury. So you're doing a solid for the protocol for going into the ETH bond, just because it's really increasing the earning power of the protocol as more and more ETH comes in there. So make it easy. If the bonding market underselling for a while, as time goes by, the bonding price would gradually drop to incentivize buying, right? Yeah, exactly. It's 100% it. If people are buying it at too fast of a pace, based on what I've set, the price goes up. If people aren't buying it enough based on the stuff that I've set, then the price goes down. So yeah, that's basically exactly it. Can you demo bridging BNB token to Abstract chain into the ETH required? Yep. Do I have some BNB in this wallet? Let's see. Not really. One sec. All right, I found a little. Okay, so and again, great question, Kev. This is one of the easiest. This is probably the easiest way to enter and start earning on Aboran. What you're going to want to do is, so if you're just on the Blue website, on the LP Zap page, I'm actually going to switch wallets in a second, but on the LP Zap page, the easiest way to enter this is just to zap in with ETH. So how do you do that? Well, if you click Get Abstract ETH via Bridge here, I wonder, do we have another link to that? I should probably add a link to that down here. I'll find a better place to put a link to that, because you can't see the LPs. Well, no matter what chain you're on, you can press Zap up here to get there. Or like no matter what chain you're on, you can press Zap. But yeah, I'll find a better place to put some more links there. But anyways, so again, super simple way to enter the Aboran LP and start earning that crazy high APR is just to zap in with ETH. And the way that you're going to get Abstract ETH, one of the easiest and fastest ways, is to use the relay.link bridge, which again, we have a link to it right here. So let me just switch wallets to one that has some BNB, and I'll go ahead and do this. Go with the good old MSS and book deployer. So, so one of the cool things is if you use this link to get to Relay, it's going to be preset to bridge to Abstract ETH, and it's going to have the input set to BNB. You can switch these inputs to any token on any chain. They even support Solana. They support all kinds of EVM chains. And like, It is one of the fastest bridges I ever use. It's typically like I get my ETH on Abstract within like under 10 seconds, sometimes faster. So let's go ahead and bridge 35 bucks over. Look how fast this is. 3, 2, 1, done. So now I've got a bit of ETH. So let me just switch wallets here real quick to the good old MSS deployer / book deployer. And let's switch over to Abstract. And you can see I've got some ETH now. So I can just go ahead and go 0.012. Let's put that in. Oh, oops. Oh, 0.12. So I'm going to auto stake it. So you can see here real simply 0.006 ETH. That's half of my input is going to be used to buy GBlue. The other half stays as ETH. And I can just go ahead and zap. And that's pretty much done just like that. Liquidity added to GBlue ETH. Good stuff. Create AMA again, Aaron. I have to drop out now. Well, thanks for joining and thanks for the comments. See you in the community. So appreciate for explaining this. I would keep smashing hard in this protocol. Thanks, Aaron, for creating this. You bet, man. I think this is super fun, right? And like I think we should probably consider dropping the APR on the BNB side, the staking APR. I think something closer to 1% a day is going to be something smart. We've already got our staking index is up to about 12 right now. So I think, just to tone that down a little bit. And the cool thing about the protocol is that I can actually, the change doesn't have to be instant, right? So like when I update the reward rate, it can be something that happens gradually over time. So just say like the target is going to be like 1% a day instead of 1.7% a day. I can set how many epochs I want that to gradually change over. So that could change like gradually over a week. It could change fully by next epoch, or it could like any time period that I want to set is it can be done in terms of like gradually adjusting that. So I think that might be like one of the last things that the protocol kind of needs in terms of like I think that might just be like the only major change that perhaps might be beneficial. But no, I'm going to keep building and keep improving the site. I think we need to be very welcoming to the Abstract guys. I think this is a really unique opportunity for guys on Abstract. And, I think we've really saturated the BNB side quite a bit. Like I know there's still a lot of users on BNB that aren't in our protocol, but I think in terms of like DeFi guys and guys that understand and like this kind of stuff, I think a lot of them are familiar with us. So I think just expanding our reach and get on other chains, I think this is something that's really unique and exciting for the Abstract guys. And I think just in general, having a gauge that pays over 550% APR for farming, a V2 gauge, full range, no headaches, no rebalancing, 2 really great assets. ETH, I think, is super bullish. GBlue, GBlue is earning the compounds from BNB chain. We're expecting massive inflows to continue. Again, great job, guys. We've got 65K liquidity on Abstract. We just got our emission started just, less than a day ago. So amazing work, everybody. Keep up the great work, and let's keep growing this, keep spreading the word. And I think this LP opportunity here is truly one of a kind and has an unbelievably good risk reward ratio. December 17th, base explodes. We will see. Onward and upward with Aboran. Yeah, we'll see what happens over there. But I think when stuff goes well on base and with Aerodrome, it kind of it shows everybody the potential of Aboran. And I think Aboran is going to repeat a lot of what Aerodrome did. Even if you look at the Aerodrome chart, they had a period of declining price for the first couple months, and then it bottomed, and then it just really rocketed from there once people really understood and things got a bit more established and fee generation picked up with more volume. And, I strongly believe that all those same things are going to happen with Aboran. So I think, it's a great time for Blue and all of us to get involved with Aboran. And very, very bullish times ahead. All right, guys, that's about all that I got for the AMA today. Anybody have any other questions or comments or anything of that sort? I thought not many players really recognize that. Holding GPLU and stake as LP engage means getting 1.7% daily and 560% APR at the same time. It's really insane. Yeah, I mean, this is, you nailed it, right? Like dual stack rewards. Like I really mean that. Like when I keep saying that and like I feel strongly about it, it's like the first thing you see on the website. Like you literally got your GBlue, you're earning the compounds from BNB chain. And at the same time, you take that and put that into an LP that's paying a higher APR than just about any other V2 LP out there that I've seen. And again, it's not like we only got $1,000 of TVL, and then as soon as people enter, the APR is going to drop. That's not the case at all. We've already got 65K TVL, and our APR is still sky high, right? So, yeah, and again, anything over 200-300% here is incredible, and we got so much room to grow the TVL while still being over 200-300%. And again, that doesn't even factor in that ABX price is very likely to turn around anytime now. And you know, just imagine ABX was at 25-30 cents. It's at like a little over 1 cent right now. So ABX being at 5 cents, just pushing back up a little bit towards where it belongs, honestly, and like, you know, where it's been, that would 5x our APR, right? Going from 1 cent to 5 cents. So yeah, I mean, just ABX rebounding a little bit, and we're going to have a runway to have hundreds of thousands of dollars in our gauge and still have a very high paying gauge, which again, that's going to do wonders for the blue price. So when Lambo, well, it's snowing out here now. So I don't know, maybe after winter's over, we'll be in a position, get a nice blue Lambo. All right, guys, hope you found the AMA useful and entertaining. I guess I'll wait a couple seconds to see if anybody else has any other questions. I guess one other thing is I did clean up the menu a little bit, just it was getting a bit cluttered. So the treasury, to access that, you can go here to see it. I took it out of the menu. I felt that something that doesn't really get accessed all that often, it was taking up a lot of space, as well as the GBlue. The link to GBlue page is not here anymore, just because, again, you can do all of that through the staking page now. So if you have SBlue and you can unstake SBlue here, you can unstake GBlue here, and you can stake blue directly to GBlue or SBlue. So yeah, the menu is a lot cleaner now. It should be easier to navigate for most people. Massive opportunity. Thanks, Aaron. Awesome work. Yeah, I mean, I get ideas all the time, but this one was really this one really panned out better than I expected, and I'm usually pretty optimistic. So for it to be working out better than I expected, it really says a lot about it. You know, it's, you know, and something else that's huge too is like, I think that, you know, what we did with Blue is something that I really don't see like other protocols doing all that often. But like, you know, I think this serves as a great example of like how a protocol can go cross-chain, how they can take advantage of incentives on DEXs. And, you know, like we were able to build up, you know, right in the first day already, we have 65,000 of liquidity on Aboran. And that was mainly all accomplished with like a $2,800 bribe, right, of protocol tokens. So like, it was like an amazing experience from the protocol operator perspective. It's an amazing opportunity now for the entire community, and you know, just everybody wins, right? And I think it's a great example that, you know, teams like Abstract could use to showcase like, hey guys, you know, if you have a project on base chain, BNB chain, Solana, wherever you might have it, you know, you can easily bridge and you can, you know, get set up on Abstract or any other chain, right? And I think it really is a great example in a lot of ways. And I didn't have to pay for anything, right? Like this is all free tools that I used. The Layer 0 bridge is open source and, you know, permissionless. Anybody can use that. All the stuff I built into the site is all accessing contracts that already exist on Aboran. As much as I love making contracts, there is just simply no need to make a contract for any of the stuff we're doing here. So yeah, it's all pretty painless and super beneficial. Yo, Aaron, it's Ash. Question, recreating LP using GBlue. If one wished to do that, would it be more financially beneficial to do that when GBlue price is higher, or doing that now is also fine? Great question. So again, when you're zapping in, you're selling half of the token that you're using as input. So if you're zapping in GBlue, you ideally want to do that when the price on Abstract is higher than BNB chain, right? So because essentially, like, you could look at it like the liquidity is getting pretty close on both chains. So let's just assume for right now that the liquidity was equal on both chains. Like basically, like, I'm not sure where I was going with that. So essentially, I mean, if you're selling half of your GBlue to zap in. So yeah, you basically, if anytime you're selling, you want to sell where the price is higher. So yeah. So I mean, ideally, what you'd want to do is you'd want to pair GBlue up with fresh ETH to pair, just because, you know, I think blue has a lot of room to appreciate in value from here. So ideally, that's what you do. If that's not an option, then yeah, you would want to zap in GBlue when the Abstract price is higher. I mean, and right now the prices are pretty similar between both chains. So, you know, I wouldn't want to zap in a lot of GBlue while the Abstract price is a little bit lower. But I mean, it really comes down to like what you want to do. Like, so the way that you would slightly better optimize, like, again, right now there's only a 3% difference in price. So if you got, like, say 100 GBlue that you want to zap in, what you could do for a slightly more optimal output is bridge half of your GBlue, like, so bridge 50 GBlue back to BNB and sell that GBlue, you know, unstake that GBlue for blue, sell that blue on BNB chain because the price is higher there, and then use the bridge I was just showing you guys to bridge the BNB over to Abstract ETH, and then you can just manually pair the ETH up with GBlue. Now, are all those extra steps worth it for a 2% difference in price? Probably not, right? But if you're doing larger amounts, or if you're or if there's a bigger difference in price between the two chains, then you might want to consider doing stuff like that. All right. Any other questions before I conclude for the day? Oh, and by the way, I probably need to make this a little bit more clear, but when you're on BNB chain, it's showing the price of blue here. And when you're on Abstract chain, it's showing the price of GBlue on Abstract. I'm just trying to make it like as simple as possible for users, and to preferably have no one panic, because, you know, they bought GBlue for $7 and then they come on the, you know, the blue website and see 60 cents and start panicking. So I think the way I need to make this more clear is I need to, like, maybe what we need to make a slightly different logo for GBlue, like maybe like a different background color behind the whale or something. I think that'd probably be the best way to do it, to differentiate between GBlue and blue without having to put text. I think in general it'd be pretty cool to have a slightly different logo for GBlue, just to be able to differentiate it. That's what I've done in the past with other Olympus DAO forks I've done. All right, seems the questions have slowed down or completely stopped. So I think I'll call it there. Thanks everyone for participating in the AMA. And again, I can't stress enough, congratulations everybody for you know, all the great work and all the great you know, momentum that we've built on Abstract chain already. Anyone that's not currently farming this LP, you need to enter this ASAP. Not financial advice, but I think that blue has a lot more room to move up as opposed to going down in price, and you can make a ton on the APR here. You know, great passive income. Green logo for GBlue for Abstract. Hey, there's a good idea. I like it. All right, guys. I'll see you guys all next week on next week's AMA. And yeah, don't forget to get into this LP position. If LP farming is not your thing, pick up Blue. I think Blue is going to be super bullish, and of course that helps our other ecosystem project Book. Every time Blue gets bought, it's pushing Book up as well with their shared LP. They've got like 32,000, I think, in the BlueBook LP. So everything's getting stronger, everything's getting better, and yeah, I'm super pumped to be on this journey with you guys. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the community. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and yeah, we'll talk soon and keep getting that money.